you think is the most responsible? Why would they want him gone?
I think Charlie was not allowed to be anything but a Christian Zionist, and he was changing in the last few weeks. Everything began ratcheting up after Tucker Carlson hit the stage.
That pissed him off.
It was like a full court press effort to lie about everything. I do not like the way Turning Point is behaving. I've made that clear, and nobody is going to emotionally manipulate me and tell me to attack Turning Point would be to attack his legacy. Charlie told me years ago, he was having a ton of visions and was telling me Turning Point was going to be the death of him. He knew he was going to die young, and strangely knew that I was going to be the only person to defend him.
What's going on, family and friends? Welcome back to My Thoughts Uncut. I am your host, Terrence Manning. Thank you for joining yet again. We're going to talk about the Candace Owens interview. She's going to tackle feminism, Trump, why she got fired from the Daily Wire, and of course, Charlie Kirk. You know what? This is a great interview. Let's get right to it.
Candace, thank you for having me here.
I'm excited, and thank you for making it work on short notice.
Of course. These are crazy times, so I totally, we got to be careful about where we're at, right?
Right.
So it's been a while since we last spoke. Last time you were on, I remember we did After Hours where you were saving a few women's lives, and I did want to tell you this on camera. One of the girls that you spoke to actually quit OnlyFans on that day.
Wow.
Yeah.
It was a good conversation.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people think that, I guess, those conversations are not worth it or the show is all theater. But for me, I want to sit across from these young women because anybody's life could have ended that way. You know what I mean? Like I could have ended up being one of these OnlyFans girls if there weren't so many like life interventions, because it's just being sold to women so much that this is the easy way out. You know what I mean? So
yeah, but I wanted to make sure I told you that, on camera, that she literally quit like not too long after you did that show. So that's great, saving lives.
That makes me happy.
So kind of with that, I saw that you did a debate on Jubilee with a bunch of feminists. Obviously, we're in a modern day age. Things have changed quite a bit. We've both been pretty critical of feminism, but I think with what you're doing, you're able to really reach a demographic of women that just guys like me and Andrew Tate and others just aren't going to reach because, we're abrasive in the way that we get it. So they might want, another female's perspective on, the detriments of feminism and everything else like that. So kind of given how society is now, how do you see feminism today with young women? And then what do you predict is going to happen in the next 5-10 years? Are we getting better? Is it getting worse? What are your thoughts in general on that?
So I was actually very interested in Tate culture, I guess I'm going to call it. So I'm going to put you in that orbit of Tate culture. All
Andrew
of these male
Tate.
influencers that were coming out and calling girls bitchs and hoes and all this stuff. And people sat back and were like, oh my God, this is horrible, whatever. But I'm like, wait a second, whatever you think about him, whatever you think about Tristan, whatever you think about Myron, this culture got very big very quickly, and there's got to be something there, right? There has to be. So that was the reason why I flew out to meet Andrew Tate. There was all these conspiracies that I knew him before and all. I met Andrew a total of 2 times before I did his show. My husband hung out with him maybe 3 times in his life before him and I met. He was actually friends with PJW. And that's how I met Andrew.
Gotcha.
Like, so my husband was actually friends with PJW. And I just wanted to know what it was, because I'm never a person that will dismiss something on its face and call it a name. Like, there has to be some substance here. And
I give Candace Owens a ton of credit. She'll interview pretty much anyone, no matter what the conspiracy is or the hearsay is about that individual, because when she did that interview with Andrew Tate, that was one of the peak times where no one liked him on social media other than, the red pill community and or his friends and family. But everybody else was basically gunning for him. They wanted him to just be in jail for the rest of his life.
What was actually happening was you got Andrew Tate and Tristan Tate and you got Myron Gaines because you perpetuated a culture of Lena Dunhams, right? So you're acting like men just got tired of it is what happened. And finally, men looked around and somebody stood up and said, it's actually okay to be a man and you don't have to listen to any of these women. Now, you may not have liked how they said it. You may not have liked that they were doing this on top of Lamborghinis. But the reality is that what sat beneath that was a horribly toxic culture where women were dictating the terms to men. And every time a man did something that actually felt natural to them, you called it toxic masculinity, and books were written, and Lena Dunham's writing articles, and there's a show about this, and Lena Dunham's naked on Instagram. I wrote a whole chapter about Lena Dunham in my book, and she's naked.
Feminism is the death of relationships. Trust me. women are suffering nowadays because of feminism movement. They're lonely, they have a dog or a cat, and that's it. They have no companionship. They're trying to be like men. They can't be like men. Go back to traditional times.
On Instagram, and she's lecturing you if you don't want to see her, you know, overweight, naked, and tatted up. So you can't blame the culture, Tate culture, until you are ready to address where this actually came from, which was women constantly bashing men over the head and telling them that masculinity, full stop, was wrong.
Given the problems that we have,
And that's funny because if a burglar comes into the home, that's when you choose your man to be masculine and take on that burglar, that robber, and risk his life for you. But when it comes to him not wanting you to dress a certain way out of respect for him and, of course, yourself, you call that toxic masculinity, or you say that he is, what is the word that women, oh, he's narcissistic or he's insecure. Like, how can a man be insecure about a woman? Doesn't make sense. It's all about respect.
obviously, whether it's me or Tate or other people, will kind of come in and say, hey, this is what you need to do as a guy. This is how the modern day marketplace is now when it comes to dating. What's your approach to kind of combating this problem from a female perspective?
First, you have to understand
That's
the
a good
origin of
question.
feminism, right? You have to understand that this was not a culture and an ideology that came because they wanted women to have equal rights with men, okay? This was a CIA-sponsored PSYOP. Gloria Steinem was sponsored by the CIA, okay? These protests were sponsored by men in government. A lot of them homosexual, actually. And the reason for that was simply because they wanted to tax, it was actually twofold, I would say. They wanted to tax household income both ways. And also they wanted women to, instead of focusing on their kids, which comes natural to women, right, to be the quote unquote, like I say, CEO of the household, they wanted to remove that and to have the children given to the government for.
And that's true because when you are able to tax two people in the household, that's more money for the government. And now that breeds children who are going to follow the same suit. So now everyone's getting taxed. And that's what it's all about. See, when you think of the feminine movement, you think, oh, women should be equal as men, as humans, which is definitely true. But that's not what the original feminine movement was about. The feminism movement was about actually women taking over and being the ones that are the breadwinner and leading the world and just eliminating the traditional roles of men and women. That's what it was about. We're going to go to the next clip with Candace Owens.
What do you think so far about this switch in politics? What do you think so far about this administration with Trump?
Look at the
Good, bad, the ugly.
Sad. Honestly, the first thing that I would say is that it makes me sad because obviously I spent a lot of time helping Trump get elected, trying to help Trump get elected. And Trump is...
I see a photo right here, yeah.
Yeah, he's a part of my political story, right? A part of my political awakening, if you want to call it that. And it feels to me like when he said, what Epstein files, are we still talking about the Epstein files? It was just like we were so close. We did everything we could. And we were supposed to be fighting a swamp. And then what happened? What the Loch Ness monster, which is Israel, rose up and swallowed our hero whole. So it makes me sad. And I think
I disagree with her on that one. I agree with her on most things she says, but this one I disagree. I think Trump knows Democrats better than he leads on because when he says he wants to do something, they always go the other way. So if he would have pushed this Epstein thing, they would have vetoed it, or they would have basically said no in the House and in the Senate, and it would have been a whole ordeal. So what I believe he did was pretended that he didn't care about it to the point where Democrats were pushing for it because they thought, hey, this is something we can get them on. And now that they were all for it, he tells everyone in Republican House and Senate, hey, go ahead and approve it. And now we're finding out that these Democrats are in a hellhole of scrutiny because they were the ones that were actually in these Epstein files way more than Republicans. And Trump is only in it because Epstein despises of him, which I think is a good thing if a pedophile and a rapist and a just a terrible person doesn't like you. That's actually a good thing.
We all can very clearly see what has happened on the basis of who is now supporting him. The literal Never Trump movement is now supporting Trump and telling us that we're radicals, the people who initially supported Trump. So there's been a complete flip, and they're trying to use this mechanism of psychology to convince us, oh, we just got here, but we noticed this rot, which is the original MAGA movement. It's completely ridiculous. Their tactics aren't working. But I think it also indicates to us that there is something very scary and sinister that is in DC, right? That turns good men, it petrifies good men that go in maybe with the best of intentions. And then they see something else. Like, what happens to these people? We don't know. Like, where is, I mean, day in and day out, Kash Patel and Dan were saying, we're going to do this. We get the FBI. Now they look petrified. They look petrified, actually. There's nothing here, actually, to see about these Epstein files. What are you talking about? You kind of made your show off of what.
Like I said, I'm telling you, I think that this was the play the whole time. He purposely did this because literally everything he's tried to accomplish, the Democrats have been against. And I think Kash Patel and Dan are doing a phenomenal job. They're catching criminals. They're catching human traffickers. They're doing it's a complete 180 how the FBI is now compared to when Biden was in office.
We need to happen with the Epstein files. So it's sad.
So if you were to rate them, because people have asked me this question, so now I get to ask someone else. What grade would you give them right now at this point, based on, obviously the Epstein files? I agree with you. It's a huge debacle. It's going to probably be a huge negative in his legacy at the end of the day. If you had to grade his presidency so far within, we're 11 months in roughly, what would you say?
So I would say I'm biased. So if you're asking me to grade, you know how you would have those teachers where if you would take a test and they would automatically flunk you if you didn't put your name on the paper?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. The Epstein thing for me is like automatic flunk if you don't put your name on the paper, right?
Gotcha.
So if I'm a mom now, so this was the most important thing to me, was figuring out where the pedophiles are in our society. And
that was your number one voting.
This for me, becoming a mother, because
I disagree with her, and it's okay. We can disagree. I give him an A-. He gets an A+ once the Ukraine and Russian war is over. Now, it's not his fault that they were in war. He inherited that from the Biden administration, but he did campaign on it and said that he would end it. So, got to still hold him accountable. A-. He gets an A+ once that is completed. Let's go to the next clip with Candace.
Kind of lobby. We're talking about Mary Madelson and Epstein and everything else like that. Last time we spoke, you were literally like a week or two before you left Daily Wire. It's been a while now. And obviously a lot of things have transpired, right? You've had a meteoric rise. Congratulations. Meanwhile, your opposition, Ben Shapiro, has had a meteoric downfall. Can you kind of take me through that day of what happened when, because I remember you had been in Miami for a bit, and then I think you might have went back to Daily Wire for like a day or two, and then they said, hey, we're going to get rid of you, blah, blah, blah. Can you kind of take me through how that all transpired and how you've been able to kind of use that cancellation from their perspective to just utterly destroy them and flip the roles?
So, gosh, I was fired in, what was it, March of 2024, and I obviously was very surprised about it. I did not know it was coming.
It's been a year.
Look, even if I sensed it was coming, I would have never have thought that it would have happened in the way that it happened. I would have thought that we would do everything that we can to keep things friendly. I mean, you don't want to work for any company. It's just unprofessional to want to work, to dedicate years of your life to it.
I literally watched the Daily Wire because of Candace Owens. Once she left, I stopped watching Daily Wire. And when I get a chance, I still watch Candace Owens because she is phenomenal at what she does. Do I watch or am I entertained by everything she talks about? No, but she is a smart woman and very talented. The Daily Wire messed up big time.
Any company and not have things, even if they're not on great terms, you still want to make it as peaceful as possible.
TMZ reported, and I have to ask you this because I've always been wanting to ask you this. They reported that one of the reasons why they wanted to get rid of you is because you did the show with us. And when we talked about Jews, we hit the sound effect, the cha-ching sound effect, and that, I guess that infuriated Ben Shapiro. Is that true? Or
I know that I know where that leak came from.
Okay.
And it came, gosh, am I allowed to say anything about this? she no longer works for the Daily Wire. And I think she was behind that leak. Yeah. So she no longer works for the Daily Wire. So that was interesting. I can neither confirm or deny whether or not that is true.
Okay.
But what I will say is I would have never expected that sort of a PR. I mean, it's just the opposite of the way that I am. I mean, I've worked with several companies. I've worked with PragerU. I have obviously a lot of disagreements with them now, but I had a very peaceful working relationship with them. They treated me fantastically. I've said this 1,000 times. Like, what I think about them now and what their contributions are to what we're fighting, I could never go back and say like one bad word about how they treated me. They were really good employers and very communicative. I ever had an issue. I mean, I think my contract with PragerU was like 2 pages. I'm not even kidding. It was crazy. Marissa never even wanted to talk about contracts. She's like, if we ever have to talk about the contract, she was like, you should probably leave because like I don't want you here if you're not happy.
Yeah.
Obviously had a very great relationship with Charlie Kirk, Turning Point USA. So for me, having never had any sort of a debacle ever in my life.
And that's pretty odd. You didn't have any issues. It's like you go into work every day. You're doing your job. You are not just doing your job, you're doing an excellent job because let's just be clear, she was the talent behind the Daily Wire. So you go to your job and you do above and beyond what you're asked, and you're a rock star basically within the company. And then one day you come into work and they just say, hey, we gotta let you go. And they don't really give you an explanation why. And it's not like they say, oh, it's because of money, we're bankrupt or we have the size down. It's just, they just don't give you a reason. They just say, hey, we gotta let you go. And they don't tell you why. That doesn't occur in private sector. This is like odd. You just let her go. She's like, let's just put it in football terms. She's the number 1 draft pick and you let her go after a year and she's doing phenomenal. Like she's an MVP candidate. Got to put it in terms of sports. I'm going to relate it back to sports all the time.
In terms of working for people, it was new. It was global. There was so much happening and I didn't know if we were going to survive it. Genuinely, my husband and I, it felt like it's like trench warfare. Your every move, you're not even thinking about the implications. It's like, I just have to put one foot in front of the other and fight. And I first and foremost, just grateful to God that my husband was just rock solid. I think if my husband had shown even a fraction of apprehension, fear, anything, I probably would have come apart. And this again gets back to the importance of marriage because there are things that men are designed to deal with. Women are designed. I was good on the psychology games of what they were trying to do, but in terms of just getting down and building the infrastructure and like, okay, we need to rebuild the podcast. We got to do this. You got to figure this out. We laughed,
and that took a lot for her too because I remember she got demonetized and she went to, I believe she's on Rumble and she's on YouTube, but that's pretty devastating. You're doing such a great job. The income is great because she was making good money too, and then all of a sudden, you got to start back over, and you don't know why. That's crazy.
Now, I mean, even because my team came with me, which was something that was also a huge blessing. I'm so grateful to my team because I went to them and I was like, I don't know if this is going to work. We can't offer you health insurance. We have nothing. So if you leave the comfort of where you are taking a risk.
Yeah.
And we don't know where this thing is going to end. And also we're like being banned from society also. Yeah. So the chances of this podcast working when we're banned from everywhere,
exactly.
Even YouTube demonetized us. It was slim to none. And they were just like, we're coming with you. So to look back on that, it's just a tremendous amount of gratitude and appreciation for the audience, my team, and first and foremost, my husband,
So he helped you through that process. Cause I remember like it was all over the place and, obviously there was an enormous amount of pressure, but you were able to use that to your favor. You get let go from Daily Wire, you start up your own thing. And, obviously this topic is a very controversial topic when it comes to Zionism, Jewish power, and these other things. And it led to some things. What red pilled you on this topic that made you say, I got to speak up? Even though this is a very taboo topic, you can get, like you said, deal with demonetization, cancellation, losing an employer. What made you say, I got to speak up on this?
I want to get into heaven. And I think people don't realize that that's real. Like, I think people who are atheists don't understand that a part of this whole psych operation was to make you an atheist. Because if you...
And here's the thing, she just had enough of what was going on, and she started speaking what she felt. She started speaking authentically, and she didn't even get a one-on-one with Ben Shapiro. He has not talked to her. She got let go, but it wasn't from him face to face or through phone call, not even email, not even a text, nothing. It was through, within the organization of the Daily Wire. And then, you see now, fast forward now, she's doing a phenomenal job. And from what everyone is saying, I don't really know. They saying that he's on the downhill when it comes to his popularity. I guess the Daily Wire's not doing as well. But I think that he should have given her some kind of explanation on why you're being let go. Even if it was a BS explanation, at least it was a face-to-face, because from what she said before, they've never had any issues with each other. So this was out the blue. We're going to see what she says about the whole Charlie Kirk incident.
So let me ask you this with Charlie Kirk, because you're definitely one of the most outspoken people when it comes to the Charlie Kirk investigation and what's going on there. Obviously, you knew him personally. You guys have worked together for many years. I'll kind of just turn it to you, and you can just tell me, because you've been looking at this for a while now. It's almost it's over 2 months now. Can you take us through what you think happened on that day? What led you to believe that? And the timeline in general, who you think is actually responsible, who might be covering things up and everything like that.
Yeah, so I can tell you that I view the Charlie Kirk assassination as a military hit.
Damn.
I do not know who called the hit yet, but it's military. There's no question in my mind that it was a military
or foreign or...
Well, I don't view the U.S. military as being controlled by the U.S. I mean, there are a lot of people we've been globalized for a very long time. I don't know that there's a difference there's decisions that are made in Ukraine for America. I mean, this is the tentacles of the U.S. military.
Yep.
It's a much broader and longer conversation that needs to be had. I mean, I think since JFK was assassinated, I don't know who's in control of anything, right? Much of what we see in the political realm is just an illusion. We're talking about what's happening in Congress, and decisions are made in boardrooms, in my view. With Charlie, I think that with everything that I have uncovered, there was very clearly a faith infiltration that happened. And I'm putting faith in quotation marks, because Charlie would have believed the people that came to him and told him to grow the organization and, to become the boots on the ground for faith. He cared very deeply about his faith.
He definitely did.
The characters, the cast of characters and the pastors that are around him.
I'd say one thing. I followed Charlie Kirk as well. He was phenomenal. He was a genius, in my opinion. He was self-taught as well. And every time he did debate, he always led with his faith. Whether you agree with it or not, that was his base. It was about his faith. It was about what was in the Bible. And he can articulate pretty much anything and everything.
Rotten, like very rotten. The McCoys, Rob McCoy, unbelievably rotten. And I've been covering a lot with him. And what it's looking like is that Calvary Chapel has been accused of tons in the past, and also accused of hostilely taking over well-meaning faith organizations and ministries, with Rob McCoy at the center of some of these scandals. It's looking to me like Turning Point's apparatus provided an opportunity. Now, who they're actually working for, what they're actually doing, I don't know. But I can tell you it is not about Jesus Christ. Okay.
Damn.
And this would explain why, for some unknown reason, Christian Zionist influencers have been losing their minds about the idea of investigating the Charlie Kirk assassination. It's
That's
odd.
true.
Like, I looked up and I'm going, why are Christian Zionists trying to use Bible verses to say that we shouldn't question anything? I mean, everybody knows you were a cop.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this whole Charlie Kirk thing, this assassination, doesn't make any sense. We all seen it. The first thing in the movies, you see it where when there is a murder scene, you don't touch anything. You tape it off. You do as much as you can to save the evidence. But you saw people touching the cameras. You saw people standing up and dismantling a camera and taking out the memory card. You saw that they built some kind of construction in the area where he was assassinated. It just doesn't make any sense. And then you saw one of the guys that was a member of TPUSA. He was doing an interview and he was basically telling you what he saw from his angle. And then I guess one of the executives tried to shut him up. So it's just odd. It's crazy. It doesn't add up. It makes no sense.
The first thing you do when there's been a murder is to look around at the money, the finances, and the people around him. Common sense. Like, and then you pair that with the actual impossible things that they are telling us. It was a Christian miracle. His neck just stopped a 30-06 from 150 yards away. It was just your modern Christian miracle, you know? That's Fed slop, but it's worse than that. It's Christian slop. People using the Bible to psychologically convince you, Jesus performed miracles, and this was just one of them. Charlie.
Yeah, they're trying to use Charlie Kirk's faith. They're trying to use your faith to silence you from questioning what we all seen and the lack of true criminal investigation and how the so-called alleged assassin that took the shot just openly start texting his transgender boyfriend. Like, that doesn't make any sense. And just telling him by detail what he did. And then the person that was responding was very bland in the responses. Like, how do you divulge that much information after you commit such a crime? Like, it does it seem like it's all been set up? Yeah, this is why we're all questioning it.
Loved his faith. They're lying about weird stuff. I consider it a clue that they are lying about where Charlie was at in terms of his faith journey. They lied about the Hampton Summit. They lied about the fact that he had said, I have no choice but to abandon a pro-Israel cause. I just watched them all lie because I needed to see where all the stakes were. These are weird lies.
Yeah.
The one thing that connects all of these lies is faith. So that's where the focus of my investigation is right now. And I'm coming up, looking and going, all of these characters are dirty that were around him. So you're not going to hold up a Bible like a false prophet and tell me not to look here, or else I'm going to be condemned to hell. Because let me tell you how the Bible works, okay? Christ is king. What that means is truth is king. And if anybody is using the Bible to tell you not to pursue truth, you are dealing with somebody who is manipulating you.
Who do you think, I know you said the people around him, but who do you think is the most responsible? Why would they want him gone?
I think Charlie was not allowed to be anything but a Christian Zionist. And he was changing in the last few weeks. When I look at the timeline that I put together, some weird stuff, this Egyptian plane that was started tracking him everything began ratcheting up after Tucker Carlson hit the stage. And
in July.
Mm-hmm,
I was there for that. Yeah.
That was.
Yeah. And she's right. Like, he was changing. Like I said, I did follow him, and he was an inspiration on why I started my, not podcast, but, YouTube content journey. But yeah, it's just sad that they took him out that way. And it's even worse that they're trying to go after Candace for seeking the truth. She just wants to know why are you hiding this and that, and why is this investigation like this, and why is the evidence being tampered with? This is just not normal. And to her credit, she also had mentioned that, when it comes to Charlie Kirk's wife, she doesn't see anything wrong with her. She doesn't see that she's part of it or anything like that. And she's giving her grace because you witness your husband get assassinated with one of your kids or probably both your kids with you. So if they're willing to do that to your husband, what will they do to you? So that's a thing that, people got to just lay off of her a little bit or just a lot, because there's no evidence that his wife had anything to do with it. Just relax. But this was a great interview. I'm going to put the link in the description below. Like, subscribe, let me know what you think in the comments. And Myron Gaines is the one that interviewed her. He's doing an excellent job himself. He's part of Fresh and Fit, but he also has his own YouTube channel, and it's called Myron Gaines. So you check him out too. Hey, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, notification bell. Peace.